What's up, YouTube? This is LimitlessGriever here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about admitting your faults. Now, admitting your faults is really referring to when you're playing a ranked game or even normal PvP, where you'll end up messing up and you'll blame someone else for something that you messed up on. So, for example, you'll be in bottom lane, and it's very common in bottom lane, which is why I don't really like playing bottom lane very much. So you're playing bottom lane, and the ADC overextends and then dies, and then he'll blame it on the support. Support noob, why didn't you heal me? Why didn't you stun? Why didn't you do whatever the situation is? And he'll just go on and on about the support not being, a good support. Now, yeah, the support probably could have done something better, but it was the AD carry's fault for putting themselves into an overextended situation where they got caught out and then they ended up dying. That's their fault, not the support's fault. It's human nature, and the body doesn't want to admit the fact that they're wrong because the human brain does not like the idea of admitting the fact that they're wrong because they'll make themselves feel threatened. So that's really where that stems from. People don't want to admit the fact that they're wrong. So what they do is they end up covering it up by making themselves look big and bad by blaming it on other people. It's human nature. They don't want to admit the fact that they're wrong, so they'll place the blame elsewhere. Now, what ends up happening is people who do this typically try to make themselves look like they're a better player as a result. And that ends up stemming with overcockiness. And that's kind of the first topic I want to talk about when referring to admitting your faults. So overcockiness is a very common problem with this scenario. So a lot of people don't want to admit that they're wrong. So what do they do? They basically play it up. They place blame on other people, and they don't want to take responsibility for the situation. So let's talk about admitting your faults. What happens when you don't admit your fault? Well, what happens is you end up placing the blame on other people. And when you place blame on other people, they get frustrated at you for failing. First off, you already failed and you refuse to accept the fact that you did fail. And as a result, the team is going to be mad at you, especially if the person saw you do it. He's going to call you out on it. You're going to call the other person out on it because you don't want to take the blame for it. That's the whole point of this situation, is the fact that you're not admitting to your faults. So when you don't place blame on yourself, you place the blame on others. And other people are going to be frustrated because now they're getting blamed for something that you did. This is a very common issue, especially in low tier ranked, I've noticed. And it's very frustrating. It causes a lot of team chaos, and as a result, players can end up holding a grudge against you. And with grudges being thrown back and forth, people are going to be less likely to communicate with people. You'll see it often, sometimes a Caitlyn will be throwing an ultimate on someone. They'll be charging up their little laser and aiming at it. You'll see the steady shot, and you won't get in the way of it to save them from the bullet. But you just don't. You just don't do it, and then you blame them for feeding because you didn't take the bullet. Well, that was your fault, not the person's fault that got overextended or whatever. You had the opportunity to actually fix the situation, but you did not. That is you not admitting to your fault. And when this chaos and this score happens, that person who did end up dying to that bullet that you did not take to the face, they may hold a grudge and hold it against you later on. They may end up, just not helping you out. You'll be ganking top and then be like, I'm coming to gank top. And they'll be like, okay. And you'll be coming up there, and then all of a sudden you get counter ganked by their jungler, and then you go 2v1 versus their top lane, their jungler, and then the person that you were going to help gank, they just sit up there and farm. And you go, why? Why did they do this? And they just look at you and go, because you didn't take the Caitlyn ult to the face. And that causes more problems, because not only did they die the first time, you died again, which puts you at a 2-0 disadvantage against your opposing team, just because of your own frustration, just because you couldn't let go the blame, or you couldn't take the blame, and they wouldn't let go of the grudge as a result of it. It causes team chaos. And when it comes to League of Legends, every little advantage that you can take advantage of needs to be taken advantage of, because otherwise you likely won't win, because they're going to be doing exactly the same thing on the opposing team. They're going to be taking advantage of every situation that they possibly can. Whether or not right now is a good time to take Baron, or if they should be pushing towers, it doesn't matter what the situation is, they're going to take advantage of it. And without you taking advantage of being able to work as a team, you're going to put yourself at a disadvantage. So as a result, blaming others typically ends up causing a lot of chaos within the team. and ultimately will put you at a disadvantage. Now, there's another situation in this, which is overcockiness being stemmed from other players that aren't directly added to yourself. So overcockiness typically is a way for people to hide the fact that they don't want to admit the fact that they're wrong, or that they're doing something wrong, or that they're playing poorly, or they're playing wrong, whatever the situation may be, that they don't want to admit the fact that they'll do that. And so they'll play themselves up and act like they're a pro. Well, I'll let you know one thing. If you're in bronze rank or you're queuing with people that are in bronze rank, you are probably not pro. Otherwise, you would not be in bronze. So don't act like you're in bronze. People that will just put in all chat, be like, "Oh, suck a nut! Look how much I destroyed you," or whatever they're doing, and they'll go like 4-0, 5-0, or whatever, and they'll act extremely overcocky because they're doing extremely well. Well, as a result of that, this causes a lot of chaos between the team in many, many ways. So the first part is you're going to look like an asshole doing this. Secondly, you're in bronze or silver or whatever elo you're in that you're doing this in, which means that you are not any better than anyone else that you're queuing against. So again, you're just making yourself look like an ignorant asshole. So stop doing that. So that is one problem with it. The other problem is when you end up failing after being overcocky, it makes you look like an idiot. It not only does it make you look like an idiot, you're going to end up having a lot more emotion toward that death when you finally lose or you finally die or get called out on a failure or something like that. Your team's going to hate you for it. The opposing team's going to hunt you down for it. And they're going to take advantage of the situation because they want that sweet, savoring feeling of justice, of rubbing it in your face. So as a result, for the people that are being cocky in this situation, this causes a lot of frustration for yourself as well, because now you're going to be really upset because you just played yourself up and then they just brought you down to the ground. And as a result of that, you're going to be feeling a lot more emotional toward the situation, and you're going to be playing not at your best simply because now you're letting your emotions take over you and you're letting yourself go on tilt because now everyone has basically beat you down to their level when you thought that you were much higher than everyone else. Well, guess what? You were 4-0 before, now you're 4-6. And so it's just, not only is it extremely rude, it really affects the balance of the game. So cocky players, they don't really contribute a whole lot to the game. Typically, when I see a cocky player, I just go ahead and hit the tab button and I just mute them right away. I don't even pay attention to those kind of people because they end up affecting the game in such a broad way that people that are, especially people that are sensitive, and people will call them out on their failures, those cocky people, they end up getting beat down a lot. So another problem with admitting your faults is not fixing the problem. Sometimes, when you don't take the blame or you just be quiet when you know you screwed up and you don't try to address the problem. So, for example, again, bottom lane, ADC yells at you because they just got ganked by the jungler because you didn't ward as a support. So not fixing the problem is not warding again, or just sitting with wards in your inventory and not placing them. That doesn't do any good at all. So not fixing the problem is almost as bad as just doing the problem in the first place and not addressing it. So sometimes it's too late to fix the problem. Sometimes, in that same scenario, the jungler may have ganked you and it may have been a 3v1. They may have gotten a double kill against you guys on bottom lane, and now there's 3 people wailing on your unprotected tower, and you lose the tower. Well, warding that river bush is not going to help you at that situation because, well, the tower's gone. What are you going to do now? That's pretty much, my ramblings when it came to admitting to your faults. So just keep in mind, admit to your faults. Don't place blame on others. Good luck at solo queue, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.